So I had a comment recently on a video asking, like, straight up, why did I stop playing Project Reality? And I think if you watch content on my channel, you'll probably feel like I have stopped playing. I've certainly stopped making Project Reality videos, pretty much. And I get questions like this a lot, with more along the lines of, where's the PR content? Are you going to make more PR videos? Where's the Project Reality videos, you know? And I thought maybe, you know, I would actually address why I've stopped making PR videos, why there's so many less PR videos than there once were, why I've stopped playing Project Reality. I've tried to do it in numbers. I've tried to write it down in 5 points, 5 or 6 points. I have a feeling they're all going to blur together a bit, but I'll try and keep it separated out. I think it's an interesting topic to talk about. It's partly about the state of the game, it's partly about the state of the community, and it's also partly about the state of YouTube and how YouTube works. So we're going to go in order. I've got 5 basic points. I'm going to go from number 1 up to number 5. Number 1, the community is not good. It's actually quite sad. It's actually quite sad. The Project Reality community used to be I would endlessly sing the praises of the PR community. I could not stop talking about how great the community is. Every video I ever made on PR was essentially promoting the community as the key selling point for the game. And in my experience right now, the PR community is not great. It seems to be mainly filled with like non-communicative, like Russians mainly. And then there's a few like of the older community within like the European players. Like the North American community, as far as I can tell, is pretty much dead. There's some Latin American stuff going on, but it is an absolute shell of its former self in terms of community. It's just full of like it used to be that you could load up, and I said this in a video, it used to be that you could load up that game and it was like you were coming home. It's like everyone playing the game were people you've played with for years. It was, you knew everybody, you knew who all the helicopter pilots were, you knew who all the squad leaders were, you knew and people would just keep coming back and playing the game. It's not really like that anymore, at least from the time I've tried to boot it up and play again. There really are not that many of those dedicated players left, as far as I can tell. And if they do show up, they show up less frequently. It feels much harder to just jump into that game and just enjoy the community and the experience. It seems full of like a combination of players who don't really care that much. It feels like it's full of players who are playing that game because they can't afford another game, or they can't afford to upgrade their computer to play another game. And it never used to feel like that. Like in the gameplay I'm showing right now, I think I'm going to put some... So I tried to play this game again recently, and I got this round on Yamalia with the marksman, classic. And my squad leader, like Cat Mouse, bless him, like he's trying really hard to lead this squad, but everyone in the game has no idea what they're doing, and it really sucks in PR when no one knows what they're doing. Like our chopper pilot just straight up crashes into a tree at the start of the round, just flies into a tree. Like later in that round, I think the chopper pilot is again doing some griefiness, just flying into APCs and stuff, and not landing where we're asking him to land. But that wouldn't have happened. Like in the part, you know who all the chopper pilots are. If you weren't a good chopper pilot or you didn't know what you were doing, you would just be kicked. But it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I don't know, the community seems to have completely disintegrated, which is really sad because that was the core selling point of the game, at least to me. And it's gone. Or at least for now, it's gone. Maybe there'll be some resurgence at some point. But that is a core reason why just straight up playing the game, I'm finding difficult recently. Number 2, the game development is going in the wrong direction. This is a huge point for me. It's something I've struggled with now for over a year with this game, maybe longer. In my mind, Project Reality as a game, its unique selling point is that it's a combined arms, infantry, armored vehicle, air vehicle, like CAS, armor, infantry, combined arms combat on massive maps in modern setting, 50 versus 50. That's the game to me, and that's a really strong selling point because there are actually very few games, especially in the tactical shooter, like more realistic game market, that can offer that. There are very few. Squad is basically the only one. You know, you're either playing Squad or you're playing Project Reality for your modern large scale battles. Until they make a new Battlefield, like that's what you've got. And Project Reality just, I don't know why the devs do it, but they seem to just not be interested in making anything to develop the modern aspect to that game. They just don't seem to want to make anything to do with modern combat. And I don't know why, because it's their key selling point. And it's kind of frustrating because like they spent a year at least, was it a year? Maybe more than a year on the latest update, which I did cover. And it's nearly all World War II maps. And it's infuriating because if you ask anyone in the community, like nobody wants to wait a year for World War II maps. Like it's the worst part of the game. And don't get me wrong, the World War II maps they added to the game were better than the World War II maps that were already in the game. And it's definitely the best that the World War II portion of that game has looked. But it still pales in comparison to the base game, the vanilla modern combat part of that game. And it is so sad that a whole year of development was spent on a part of the game which, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of a lot of the community in that game, the more dedicated players, it's a complete pointless thing to develop. Like, there are already World War II games. Hell Let Loose, Postscriptum, it's Squad 44, even like Forgotten Hope 2, which is literally a World War II mod, realism mod, for Battlefield 2. These are all dedicated World War II games that all do World War II better than Project Reality. I don't know, like, I get it. I mean, this is the problem. Like, the devs are doing this thing for fun. They're doing it because they want to do it. They're not doing it for money. So, of course, they're going to make the things that they want to make. And I can't sit here and tell them, well, don't do the thing you want to make. Do the thing that I want you to make. Because I'm not the one making it. It's very easy to tell someone to make the game that you want them to make. But if they don't want to do it, then they're not going to do it. And I get it. It's their project. Why not? But for the health of the game, I think it's a terrible, terrible decision. And that 1 year of development, if it was put into modern parts of the game, hell, if it was even put into like porting the game to Unreal Engine or putting it on Godot or putting it on Unity or any of this stuff, trying to get the game on Steam, like I get that's a massive project, of course, but I think if you'd spent a year doing that and you were like down the road to releasing the game in early access on Steam on a new engine, that would be significantly better in terms of a decision than, in my opinion, wasting a year of development on an entire part of the game that the vast majority of the community don't care about and that is competing with games that just do that so much better. And it's really sad. Well, number 3, the game looks like absolute dog piss poo. Which, you know, but this is where this now bleeds into the YouTube side of things as opposed to me enjoying the game. I don't have a problem with the way Project Reality looks. Like, I actually kind of like that style. It's so much easier in that game to spot players compared to, say, Squad, where everyone is practically invisible most of the time. Like most games, I think, especially on Unreal, seem to lose fidelity or lose... It seems so much less clear what is enemy player, what is a bush, what's a tree, what's grass, you know, in these newer games because they've got so much more going on. And it's a style, I guess, but PR has a much kind of crisper style on the old Refractor engine, which I like. But the problem is, and I've tried to do this, if I go to my friends and I say, hey, you want to play Squad? And you show them like a picture of Squad. They go, yeah, sure, I'll try out, why not? If you go to my friends and I go, hey, you want to play Project Reality? And I show them a picture of Project Reality, they go, nah. Because it just looks garbage. It just looks garbage. It looks like a thing that, you know, why am I going to invest my time into trying to learn a game that looks like it was made 20 years ago? People just don't want to do it. And this bleeds into YouTube content. Like, as sad as it is, people are much less likely to click on a video that has a Project Reality thumbnail, which looks like Project Reality in the thumbnail. They're much less likely to click on that than they are a Squad video or something like that. And it's sad, but it's just true. And again, they'd spent a year trying to somehow make the graphics better, making like a dev-backed like actual legit good like shader pack that really makes the game look considerably better, again, would have been a great use of their time compared to doing the World War II thing, because it is a huge barrier for that game, like getting any kind of publicity, in my opinion, especially in 2024. Like we're so far advanced. Like even like Roblox looks better, you know. Like we need to move on. it's a huge like detriment to the game is the way it looks, and that is sad, but it is really true. Number 4, the community and audience for the game is small. Now this used to be, I always used to argue this was a positive point, because a smaller community tends to be a better community, generally speaking. Like I think War of Rights is a great example of this. Now that I've played the game, they have a smaller community, but the guys there, most of them know what they're doing. They're very inclusive of new players. Everyone basically knows their roles, so if you're new, you can kind of fit in and they'll just tell you what to do and it's fine. Project Reality was like that back when the community was a bit better, not so much now. But in terms of growing a YouTube channel, and this is the problem, right? I'm trying, and I don't know, I would love to make YouTube my full-time job. Right now it's not. Right now I work a full-time job and then I do YouTube on the side, but I would like to stop working my full-time job and do YouTube full-time. Unfortunately, that means you have to look at YouTube like a business, and less like a hobby, you know? And the truth is that I spend a huge amount of time working on YouTube, like on YouTube videos. Like if I'm not recording a video, I'm editing a video. If I'm not editing a video, I'm thinking about a video. I'm planning a video. I'm writing a script for a video. I'm thinking about the next video. I'm trying to like sort sponsorships. I'm trying to like find new projects and get in with new devs and I'm always working on this. Always. It's actually insane the amount of hours I put into this thing, right? And it's really difficult to justify putting hours into Project Reality content when the audience for the game is so small, you know? Like, it takes just as long to make a Project Reality video as it does to make a squad video. The difference is that Project Reality has maybe 400 active players. And if you made a video for Project Reality, you're maybe going to get 10,000 views, maybe, on like a standard PR video, which is, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like, when you're making a PR video, again, takes just as long as a squad video, but you know it's going to perform worse. It is very, very hard to justify making Project Reality content because the audience is small. Don't get me wrong. And this is the truth for a lot of content creators. You will have seen a lot of like tactical shooter content creators all seem to start in Project Reality. So many of them start from Project Reality, and that's not like a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. The reason people start in Project Reality, and I didn't do this deliberately, I only found this out after the fact. I don't know if any of those guys did it deliberately, but PR is a great place to start a YouTube channel. And anyone trying to get into tactical shooter YouTube, the tactical shooter YouTube game, I would highly recommend picking a game like Project Reality or something similar. It's the perfect storm, right? It's a game that has like really good content if you put the hours in, or at least it did. I don't know if I could say the same now, but it did have really good content if you put the hours in. It had a small dedicated community, and it had not much competition in terms of people making content for that game. So there was like a strong community that wanted to see a lot of Project Reality content, but there weren't many people making Project Reality content. So it's a great place to build like a dedicated audience who really love that content for that game, really love that game, and just are starving for content, for Project Reality content, because so few people make it. So it's a great place to start a YouTube channel, but it's a really bad place to grow a YouTube channel, because once you have those 10,000 Project Reality players who watch your content, like all you can do from there is try and get new players to play Project Reality, which is a huge uphill battle. And I did it for years. It is an insane. It got to the point in PR, right, where not just everyone who played that game knew who I was, but every new player coming into that game also knew who I was. In fact, most of them would come up to me and say, "Yo, you're the guy. You made me play this game." Like, It would happen every single time I played that game. I feel like I had a bunch of Project Reality children, you know, uh, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it really stunts your growth for building a YouTube channel. And unfortunately, I'm now in the position where I'm trying to build a YouTube channel, and I just can't, in good conscience, from a business standpoint, because of the size of the audience, just commit to making Project Reality videos. It's just a time sink that is destined to be doomed, you know. And that also leads on to how you make money on YouTube. Project Reality videos. So not all YouTube. There are two main ways that you make money off of YouTube. And again, now that I do this as more of like a business, this is a factor that I have to consider. When you're making money on YouTube, you either do it through sponsorships or you do it through ad revenue. These are basically the two main ways. Ad revenue does not pay equally video to video, okay? It's not just about your audience, although that does matter. For example, I have a primarily US audience. Most of my audience is American. Ads for an American audience do pay more than ads to, say, a Indian audience, right? For example, I've seen it like India is a place where a lot of channels are coming up, and they have quite a big population. But their like return on ads is way lower than what you get if you're like a Western creator. So your demographic does matter. The age and the place that your audience are in does matter. But one of the biggest things that also matters, and Project Reality is really bad for this, is what the actual game is about. So video games on YouTube already return pretty bad in terms of what is called CPM, which is basically how much you get per 1,000 views on ad revenue. So something like if you're advertising, if your content is about mortgages or it's about like finance or something like that, you tend to attract an audience of people with a lot of money who are probably a bit older and are interested in and have money and are interested in money. So like finance and health, these categories pay much higher per 1,000 views because the people who you're advertising to are more likely to spend money and also have more money to spend, which means advertisers want to advertise to them because they might actually spend money on the ads, right? Gaming has always been very low because people who watch gaming content tend to be younger, like young men who don't traditionally have that much money to spend. And if they do, they don't really spend it on much stuff. Young men don't really buy that much stuff, really. So advertisers don't pay as much to advertise. But you have to add into the mix that Project Reality is also a free game. A free game and also a free mod. Okay? Now this is really important. Because this is a free mod, the people watching Project Reality content are watching it because it's free, or a lot of them are watching it because it's free, which means they have even less money to spend than the average gamer, right? So, and also because it's a mod, they're also tech savvy, especially if it's a mod that you have to download off of a website. You can't even get it off Steam, right? So they have to be tech savvy. So most of the people watching my content, my Project Reality content, are people who don't have that much money to spend or don't want to spend money. They're looking at free mods. They're tech savvy, so they definitely have an ad blocker, and they're definitely watching on their computer and not on a phone. These things are very important because it means, because not only are advertisers going to pay less because a Project Reality audience tends to have less disposable income, but they're also paying less because a Project Reality audience has a disproportionately high number of ad blockers and people watching on a desktop who can block ads compared to watching on a phone or on a console or something like that. So all that means that if you make at least for me, if you make most gaming videos, they go about between £2 and £3 per 1,000 views, right? So if you get 50,000 views in a video, you would get £100 roughly, right? On most gaming videos. On Project Reality videos, you make at most £1 per 1,000 views. So if you make 50,000 views in a Project Reality video, you only make £50, which is half what you would make on a squad video, or what you would make on a ground branch video, or what you would make on literally any other game. I've seen Project Reality pay as low as like 85p per 1,000 views for a Project Reality video. It's just the nature of the game and the audience it attracts. Financially, it's a death sentence for making content in that game. And I guarantee you that any other Project Reality, or who once was a Project Reality content creator who slowly grew their channel, moved away from this game in part because financially it is a terrible decision to make Project Reality content, you know? Because it's like, even if I could hit 100,000 views on every single PR video I made, I would be making the same as if I got half that many views on a squad video or a ground branch video or any other video, right? And it's insane. And the problem is that, again, making a Project Reality video takes just as long as making a squad video, which takes just as long as making a War of Rights video, takes just as long as making any other video, right? So why it's so hard to justify putting the time into making a thing I know is going to both perform worse and also be a financially worse decision. Unfortunately, I'm in a position where I now do this more, I'm going to say professionally, because I don't feel like a professional, but like I'm making content in part to grow a business, because I really actually enjoy like the content creation part and the like growing the business part and trying to hit that next big thing and try and experience new stuff and see whether my kind of content style appeals to audiences over here and appeals to audiences over there. I've done Project Reality. I've made a lot of Project Reality videos, and it's just, at the end of the day, it's just a detriment to your channel to make Project Reality content. And also, you combine that with the fact that the game doesn't actually feel particularly good right now, and that the devs are making decisions that I don't think are particularly healthy for the game at all. And it's a lose. Everywhere you look, it's a lose. And I wish it wasn't, because I mean, I don't know whether I can say I love this game, but I really used to love this game. I genuinely believed that this was the best game ever made. But also you have situations like Squad has basically copied Project Reality and tried to make Project Reality 2. And honestly, with their changes, they have actually done a pretty good job of switching that game into a much more like slower paced team-based game. Honestly, that game is harder than PR now. Squad is probably one of the hardest shooters I've ever played. PR used to be one of the hardest games you could play, and Squad has blown that out the water with its infantry combat overhaul. But then you sit there and you go, well, I basically have Project Reality 2. It's called Squad. Why would I play Project Reality? And the truth is, the only reason you play Project Reality is if you cannot run Squad, or you can't afford Squad, or you can't afford to upgrade your system to play Squad, which is most of what I see in the comments. It's most of what I hear from people who I play. You know, the people playing Project Reality, I spoke to them when I tried to play this game again, and most people are like, yeah, I'm running on like an integrated graphics card, and I just can't. I've had this computer for 50 years or whatever. I can't upgrade. Like, I just don't have the money. I can't upgrade. And obviously Squad runs like absolute piss, even on my system, and I actually have a good system. So, but it's tough, and I feel bad for Project Reality. I really do, because I think it is still good. I think the core game is still good. I think they've just gone in a wrong direction. And I can still cover the game when they release updates, of course, because then people are interested and they want to see it. And I'm interested. I want to see what the new Project Reality update is. But they're so slow. They're so few and far between. And this last one again, the World War II update, I don't know, it kind of burnt me a bit. I really didn't want it to be World War II. But yes, I hope that answers your question. That is why I stopped playing Project Reality. I don't have time. Also, I don't have time. I don't think you quite fathom. I spend every working minute of my day working. It's actually insane how much time I just spend working now. It's kind of crazy. And there are like an endless list of opportunities. I've been trialing an editor so I can try and make even more content, so it's not just me making the stuff. Because there's so many opportunities. There is so many stuff you could cover. There's so much stuff you could look at. And Project Reality it's never top of the list. It's never top of the list for things to look at, because it has so few updates, and the content in there is, I've just done it. I've done it to death. Like, I really wish they didn't release a World War II update. It's just sad. It's just sad, in my opinion. In my opinion, and that's why you come here, because this is Slorg Pinions. Let's not forget, this is Slorg Pinions. This is not fact. This is Slorg Pinions. I hope that sheds some light on the situation. I hope I'm allowed to talk about my my YouTube demographics and stuff. I suppose there's a separate channel, so maybe it's fine. I'm not going to show it on the screen. YouTube, big YouTube, don't come after me. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know, do you still play Project Reality? Do you not anymore? If not, why not? If you do, why? Are you some kind of freak? I'm joking. Putin, if you're watching, I'm joking. But no, thank you very much for watching. I hope that was of some value to you. So until next time, this has been a Slorg Pinions, and I'll see you about. Goodbye.